step on the land. I've got your hand, and now we're way down, fade out. No, was it your plan? Can't understand. I love the air you bring, everything. Under the sun, our fire is burning. You tell me to hold on tight. I wish that we could stay here forever. I wanna remember.
We're going to be doing a review on the Eastwood Mig 135. Mig welder is a 110 volt input welder capable of running dual shield, flux core wire, and also true Mig metal inert gas welding, which is with the tank back there. I run C25, 75% argon, 25% CO2 gas mix, just a standard Mig welding mix. The machine has a rated output of 135 amps and is capable of running up to a 1/4 inch plate with great success. It can run all the way down to sheet metal like on auto body, and I've even welded slightly thinner tubing like on this cart right here. This is a hair thinner than what you'd find on a typical car like this truck over here. The machine, it's a great machine. This is I've owned it for probably about a year and a half, or a little over that now. I've put a lot of hours on the machine. It's held up great. The only damage that has occurred on the machine is on my gun right here. This cup supposed to unscrew, and it does not. There's a steel insulator, and this is a steel insulated lead on the machine, and the insulator has kind of snapped inside of there and made it so the threads on the end aren't attached to anything. So when I try to loosen it, it just spins. But it still works. I can still just clean out the cup, picking at it. But it's not bad. The machine also comes with a flow regulator. You need a flow regulator for running a spool gun, which uses gas, or standard MIG, which uses gas. So what this is here, you turn on your machine, or your cylinder, and I already have my system pressurized, but this gauge here reads out your PSI of the tank, and mine's just above 2,000 PSI, and this one right here puts out your flow. And then to adjust the flow, turn the dial, or the knob here, and it changes the flow on your dial. Very simple setup and great regulator. Unlike the flow meter that came with my AHP 201DX, this is the 2019 model I got on pre-order. This is a flow meter, so you turn it on, and this little marble will float up to what is. It's a lot more accurate, but you do not need it for MIG welding. You do need one for TIG welding. The issue I had with this one, though, is the gauge stopped working. There is no pressure in the system right now, and it's still reading about 500 PSI and will not move at all. So I either got to replace the gauge or buy a whole new one, and these are a little more pricey. A very cheap one that's probably going to break again can be around $60 to $70. Another feature I like about the machine is it does come with this welding mask. I have my lens slipped out of it a little bit. It is only a shade 10, and you can only hold it with one hand, but if you're in a pinch and you really need to go do a weld on something or a quick repair and you don't have a helmet yet, you could use this. I wouldn't recommend it for long term because, like I said, you only have one hand, and in welding you are going to be using two hands most of the time. But like I said, it's not a bad thing that it comes with, probably $5 to $10 value. Just a nice little thing extra they included with the machine. Also, the welder is capable of running a larger 12.5 pound wire spool. These are a lot better because you hold a lot more wire, and during wire changes you're going to get, from here to your gun length of leftover wire. So less wire changes means you're not going to have as much of that left over. Also, for the price, a smaller spool costs, I think, 15 to 20 bucks. This is 45, but you're getting a lot more wire out of it. So the machine comes with this adapter here inside that you just slide right onto the machine, put your spool on, tighten down the wing nut just enough to give it slight tension on the roller, and you're good to go. So welding for this machine today, we're going to be welding on some plate. It's just over 1/8 inch thick. It's just regular mild steel, been cleaned up with an angle grinder, just a flap wheel. I got two pieces here. They're pretty clean. I mean, for MIG welding, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's way more than what you need. For TIG welding, I would still clean this up a little, but I mean, that's all you need. So we're just going to be probably running, 1 or 2 passes on the front of the plate, and then just a basic T-joint weld, and then, yeah, well, let's get to it. So we got our plate all ready, it's pretty clean, and now we're going to go over to the machine. We're going to turn the machine on. For a plate like this, I like to run about full power because it's not going to hurt the metal, it's not going to burn through, and it's just going to be a lot smoother weld. I have it set all the way full power, like I said earlier, and just under 5 for wire speed. We may have to tweak the wire speed later on because it's been a little while since I've MIG welded. Next, we're going to go over to the machine, turn our gas on, make sure it's on. You want to give it a few good turns. For a high pressure cylinder, you want it close to all the way open. Next, you're just going to pull the trigger on the gun, and you're going to watch this gauge right there go down. And that is the gas flowing out of the machine. So I'm going to turn that down a little bit. You can kind of see right there, there's a 20, that red line, kind of hard to see on camera, but I like to weld at around 15, so I'm going to turn that down a bit. Right at 20, give it maybe that much more. Just under 20. There we go, that's pretty good. Right about 15 CFH. And that stands for cubic feet per hour. And that's going to be the flow we're going to be welding at today for this mild steel. So we got our wire set up, and now we're going to go over to the table and get ready to weld. Alright, now that we're all set up here to MIG weld, we got our gloves, and we have our helmet. My helmet's set to my personal preference of shade 12. I wouldn't recommend going anything lower than shade 10, and especially for TIG welding. MIG welding, you have a little more leniency. I would recommend to start off, probably go with 11, and then go from there. If you can go darker and still see good, you'll be fine. So, like I said, shade 12 is where I'm welding right now. This is an auto darkening helmet, so right now I can see out of it very clearly until I start welding. The helmet senses the weld and darkens the helmet. So, just a nice helmet. Got some just basic MIG welding gloves. Don't use TIG welding gloves. They're a lot thinner, and you're gonna, hurt your hands. It's gonna be a lot hotter. So we'll see how my machine settings are right now. We're just gonna run a test bead down the plate. Down the top. When you MIG weld, you're going to be doing a very slight oscillation of your weld gun. You're going to be doing tiny circles, kind of like a cursive E. And that's just going to kind of mix and swirl around your weld metal and give you a stronger weld as you go. And also for filling gaps, it'll make a wider weld. So there's our 2 welds on the plate. Here's our bottom one. And here's our top plate. We're going to weld right onto it. Like I said earlier, it's going to be a T weld. So we're just going to kind of set it up here like a T, and then we'll put some tacks on the end. So for a tack weld, it's pretty straightforward. Just point your gun up to where you want it to weld, just a little dot weld to hold it in place before the final weld. A common beginner mistake is when you do a tack weld, you're not going to hold it on long enough. You see about the size of my tack weld, that's what I typically like to shoot for. And just for good practice, run one on the back side of the plate too. On the back side and opposite side of my plate. And there we go. So now for this, we're going to focus mainly on the bottom. The reason we're focusing on the bottom is you're going to, for this top plate, see there's going to be that little gap down there. More heat's going to be able to wrap around the plate and soak in. Not as much as you're going to be able to do it on the bottom because it's flat. You got to get the heat into there, and it takes more effort. So focus on the bottom of the plate a little more, and then same thing, swirl and go right into that corner.